Okay, so let me explain to you this concept. I saw this concept in a vision. I keep having these visualizations about desire, right? Because lately I've been having my own problems with desire, right? And it comes in an image that whenever I want something, this is what I see in my mind, right? I see this, right? And this is my life energy. And whenever I want something and I think of it, I think like it's almost like something that fits right in here. Boom. Right? And sometimes you see this image and I see it as a solid image. These lines mean solidity. But then there are times when I'll think of the same thing, but then when I think of it, I think of it, but it feels more transparent. And because it's so transparent, it just floats away over time. But sometimes when I'm feeling really sad and lonely, these thoughts create the same thought becomes more solid. And it's almost like it gets like chiseled in. Like it's like it gets stuck inside, right? And this causes you to think of that thought as real. It feels real, it feels desirable, as opposed to a thought that's just fleeting. In other words, a thought that you disidentify with, it just goes away. And because it feels solid, like this, like I said, it feels solid, it feels like it'll never go away because it feels solid. But then what happens is that when you go to sleep with the same thought and you wake up, you realize that this same thought all of a sudden possesses a transparent type of quality. That it almost like that same, the next morning it floats away. Why? Because you resetted your emotions. You slept, and all of a sudden sleeping literally is almost like sleeping disintegrates strong patterns in the mind, right? Or not thinking, right? The thoughts and the emotional reaction to the thoughts creates like the glue. The reaction to this creates the glue. The more you react, the more solid it'll be. The more you become present, the more transparent it'll be. It's natural atrophy for thoughts that feel solid to become transparent over time if you don't act on it and you just observe it. The truth is that meditation gets you to the spot where things become transparent. Even your body becomes transparent, but that's for a whole nother topic. So your whole life, your whole essence, your brain is literally this, right? And each time you have a desire, it creates a gap so that then the body can fill in that gap with a desire, right? Because the capacity for pleasure that you have can only be achieved by creating a deep hole in your mind so that you can feel this pleasure. But this hole that you create is also the source of your pain. Once this pleasure goes away, you'll be left with emptiness. And this is the numbing feeling you feel when you use a lot of drugs or you feel like there's no purpose in life. This is the numbing feeling you have, which is the self that's lost through engaging in dopamine filling behavior. The more dopamine you need, the more of yourself you lose, and the more you'll need it. By the way, if you guys enjoy this type of content and you want to make somebody fall in love in your life, and you want guidance from me specifically, not from an AI and not from an assistant of mine, you guys can click on the description down below where it says work with me one-on-one, and you'll be able to learn the strategies of how to become a drug to the person that you're dating so that they can become addicted to you without going straight to hell. Click on the description down below where it says work with me one-on-one, or else I'm closing the channel. But the truth is, this is all an illusion. This is all the solidity of the things that you feel like you need to fill in this. It's really just an illusion. And the way you notice it's an illusion by observing that reality. Observing that if you just stay present and you keep observing it, what happens is this would turn into this. And if you keep looking, all of a sudden it'll turn into this. And if you keep looking, it'll turn into nothing, which was the transparency of it. Reacting to it turns it into this. More reacting, which means I want it or I don't want it, turns into more solid. The more you resist, the more it'll persist. But if you just observe it, it'll turn into its nature, which is transparent. Filling that gap with a desire. And sometimes these gaps are transparent, like a fleeting thought or fantasy, or sometimes they're really solid and stick there, right? And so what I want you to understand is that in order to create space for desire, there has to be some loss of self, some unhappiness, right? And this is where some people get addicted to people, that they're so unhappy that when somebody provides any sense of validation, they use their validation to fill this big fucking gap inside of their hearts. And that's how they get addicted to you. But sometimes they like you, but only fleeting. So the way they see you in their minds is going to be more of like a transparent vision of you. It's not going to be solid. It's not going to be, so as a result, it's really it's going to fade away over time. And how do you make it solid? Well, the solidity comes through the emotions behind it. In other words, the more emotion there is behind this desire, the more solid or dense it'll be. It'll have a similar quality to this. When you stop liking someone, all of a sudden the emotions go away, and like similar to this, it loses its density. It becomes more transparent. And you stop seeing them and you stop thinking of them over time, and all of a sudden it goes from this to just there's a new gap here, and it just fade away over time. But now you're left with this. And this is where a lot of people keep filling up this, where the more unhappy, the more they want a relationship, the more of themselves they don't have, right? And that's what you have to understand. The brain will know. The brain this is very similar to dopamine receptors, okay? This is very similar to dopamine receptors, where the more unhappy you are, the more of a crater there is, and the more things you need, which is from the relationships, drugs, to fill in this gap. And sometimes you have a stimulus, someone or something, that completely fills in this gap, and you become highly addicted to them. And the more you do it, the more solid it becomes, and the brain all of a sudden begins to like click it in there, hold it in there. And that's what we have. And some people, their whole lives, their whole soul is just freaking empty. And these people tend to be ones who are prone to addiction, prone to relationships that are one-sided. And how do you fill these gaps? How do you recover this? Because at the end of the day, what you want is this. You want this, where you may have some tiny gaps here and there, but your happiness comes from your state of being, not from whatever fills this in. How do you get here? Time heals these gaps. The more you live, the less you try to fill it, the more it'll be filled. To the point where it'll be filled, you'll see a scar tissue, but it'll be filled. And how do you do that? Through spirituality, through a meditation practice, right? And over time, you might feel, and what you have to understand is that this is also an illusion. The illusion that you are empty. And so what it does is that sometimes when you feel a certain pleasure, the pleasure can be so fucking incredible. This, for example, like a big pleasure, for example, this, that it requires this much space in you. So in order for you to feel this pleasure, you have to lose this much of yourself. Okay?
All right, guys, we're going to have a brief intermission so that I can tell you guys about our new bundle that we're doing, where you guys can purchase all of my courses and get it at a discount. So this bundle is pretty much the bundle where you could just buy all of my courses. You could buy Nice Guy, which is a training course on how to come across more assertive, how to come across more confident, how to not give off nice guy vibes. You guys can get access to Dark Game, which is my full dating course on how to meet women in different scenarios, how to attract women, how to make sure you don't come across as creepy, and essentially how to act like a man and not act like a doofus, to be quite honest with you. And you get all of these bonuses, which is the bonuses of Dark Game, the bonuses of Practical Mastery, which is about how to master a skill, Social Mastery, which is how to master your social life, and the Laws of Human Nature, which is a book club videos that I had dissecting Robert Greene's book. All of this is naturally at around naturally is at $346, but you guys can purchase this bundle and get it at what's the price again? Get it at $238 pretty much. So you guys can purchase it right now. It's a money back 30-day money back guarantee. It's a good way to, rather than just buying them individually and paying extra, you guys can just purchase everything at a discount price. Now, the only thing I don't like is the fact that I'm giving you a lot of information at the same time. That makes me kind of scared, because a lot of times people don't do the things that I teach when you get too much information. But I've gotten too many requests to do this, so I'm just satisfying you guys. Purchase it right now by clicking on the description down below where it says purchase the bundle. All right, let's continue with the video.